Hey, before this video really gets started, I just want to thank you guys so much for 150 subscribers. It really means a lot to me. It means the world. And I love every single one of y'all. So I hope you continue to enjoy the videos I upload. And I guess we're going to get on to the video now. So thank you guys so much and enjoy the video. Please. Appreciate y'all. Number 1. I apologize if there are some errors or things that may not make sense, because this is the perspective of my story told from me in part by a friend. This happened to me the weekend of Halloween, and I personally don't like talking about it, but I've been told by my friend to share it to get it off my chest. So anyway, me and a friend were invited to a house party just for college students in the richer area of the town. So the house was huge with an acre of land and a pool area. This party was themed to be a little naughty, so my friend dressed in a sexy nurse outfit and I dressed as a belly dancer. Majority of the party took place in the house, as there were maybe like 70 people, with the house being very spacious, so not too difficult to get around. I'm not much of a drinker, but I did have some juice that was available. Some friends pulled me and my friend over to take some pics, and I set my drink down. After what felt like an hour of just taking pictures, I found my cup and took another sip, not even worrying that I had left my cup alone for a while. Then a man came up to me who looked to be in his late 20s, early 30s. He said my boyfriend's name and said he'd been trying to call me. That's when I realized I didn't have my phone on me. I have loads of respect for my boyfriend, and we always make sure to stay in contact with each other, and since he had to work, I promised I would contact him, but I had just forgotten. This man said it's urgent and said I can use his phone to call in one of the rooms. So not thinking at all, I followed the man. If my boyfriend really wanted to call me, then I knew it would be something terrible. As we entered the room, I felt as I had just ran a mile and felt winded. The man closed the door behind me and sat on the bed and gave me his phone. I started to feel more weak, like I just got a migraine and I couldn't call. Then I was helped to lay down, and within seconds, I was out cold. I woke up later, not sure where I was or what even happened. I found my friend rubbing a napkin on my tummy while yelling. It took me a bit to come back to reality, and I realized I was in a bedroom with my friend cleaning some stuff off of me. That's when I had a panic attack and just realized that I quite possibly have been used. My friend calmed me down and told me that didn't happen. She explained that she couldn't find me anywhere and assumed I went to the bathroom, but after some minutes, I still didn't show. So she went looking for me, eventually checking the bedrooms and found me laying in bed with the guy, something out of my belly button. Apparently he was playing shots with my unconscious body of sucking alcohol out of my belly button, licking salt from my chest, and kissing my lips. She didn't know how long this went on for, but I immediately felt sick and even coughed up just from the thought. Thankfully, my boyfriend got off work early after my friend told him what happened. He picked me up while my friend asked around about the guy, but of course no one knew who he was or even recognized him. Then I was taken to urgent care and looked at. Thankfully, nothing was wrong with me, and the drug in my drink didn't cause any further harm than just knocking me out. Now, I wish the story ends here, but I started to receive texts from a random guy. At first, he was just asking me random things, and I just didn't reply. But then he showed me a picture of my torso and started saying creepy things to me, and even giving me the impression he's stalking me. This is still going on to this day, just texting me randomly. I've had the idea to try to bait him one of these days to finally have backup to catch him, but I don't know how smart he can be and what he will do to me if things don't go as planned. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me in the comments and DMs. It really makes me feel better knowing not every stranger out there is a creep because of my past trauma, and now this, I often find it hard to trust strangers. As far as an update, I stopped receiving texts from the guy just before Christmas. However, I often feel a weird sense that I'm being followed when I'm in public, and there have been a few instances that I thought I've seen the man again. I'm still spooked at random times when a random man looks at me for too long, but I've learned to get over my past traumas, so I hope to do the same for this one. I have contacted the police and asked what I can do. They took my phone in to just copy the text I revived, but I'm sort of doubtful it will go anywhere. I honestly just believe it was a stranger who had bad intentions at the time and acted upon it. I'm not really even upset anymore. I just want to continue with my life and better myself from any future events. Sorry, I don't mean to make this update too extended, I don't think anything else will happen, but if it does, I will update when I can. Again, thank you so much to everybody. Story 2. I'm a 27-year-old female, and at this time this occurred, I was a senior in high school, angsty and steadily into partying. So for this story, I'm gonna hide her identity, solely due to the rules on Reddit. Let's call her Kay. Kay almost cost me my life, and I never want to see her again. A little backstory on Kay. She had grown up privileged, given anything she had ever wanted. Her parents adopted her 5 cousins, and this is when she started to rebel. Her parents, well off, started to pay less attention to her, so Kay had all the freedom in the world. At the time this incident occurred, Kay was 18, and I had just turned 18. We were headed to a kickback at these guys' house, and nothing more than a little bit of weed was expected. Now, I had my share in smoking weed, popping pills here and there. I had just tried ecstasy the summer prior, however, I was planning on staying sober. Shay picked me up, and we stopped to buy cigarettes at a gas station. I bought a fountain drink, one with the straw and everything. This is crucial for later in the story. We arrive at the apartment and everyone is smoking, including Kay, but I declined. She would always say shit about how she never wanted to be high alone, complained about how I never got as high as her, so I obliged and cleared the bong. Off her hit, not even taking a full hit. She asked for a drink of my soda and I handed it to her. She had it for a good minute. I had my head turned, talking to someone at the kickback. When I looked back at Kay, she was messing with my straw. I didn't think much of it, and she handed it back to me. Within about 30 minutes or so, I started to feel intensely high, to the point that I needed to escape from the group. So I would go out front to smoke a cigarette, only to find that I could not stand up, so I laid down on the front porch. Then all of these dark thoughts flashed through my mind. I felt so sick, like my stomach was being torn open, and I couldn't even stand up. I had to crawl to the bushes to throw up, and I thought to myself, all of this off clearing a bong? So I laid back on the porch. The apartment was located on a busy street in the city I live in. I also thought about running into traffic because I felt like I was dying. So I gave myself 2 options. I could run into traffic, have a car hit me, and end this horrible pain I was in, or I could get some help, maybe flag someone down. My mind wasn't in the right state, and I knew nobody at the kickback would take me seriously. I just knew something was terribly wrong. I thought about calling my mom. I must have dialed her number and hung up like 5 different times. Finally, I called and told her what had happened, and that I didn't know why I was so high, because nobody else was feeling the way I felt. What seemed like an eternity later, Kay came outside looking for me. As I'm puking my guts out into the bushes, she asked me if I wanted to get some food. I asked her if she was being serious. She laughed as I puked. What I didn't know was that my mother had called my older brother to pick me up, since he lived close to where I was. He showed up with a machete. He ran inside and threatened people. He didn't know who gave me what. It wasn't until I got home that my brother took one look at my eyes and noticed how dilated my pupils were, so they rushed me to the ER after more puking, of course. My memory there is a bit fuzzy. I just remember asking my sister-in-law if I was going to die, and telling her that I was scared. They ended up sedating me due to the fact that I was yelling and threatening the nurses, which is totally out of character for me. They did a toxicity screen, a drug test, and found MDMA, the drug and ecstasy, along with other drugs in my system. I'm assuming the other drugs were the ones used to make up ecstasy. Now, this is all frightening and everything. However, what I found a few days later shocked me to my core. Kay had been to a house party the next night. Somebody there had said she was passing out free ecstasy to 4 different people. Of those 4 people, 3 had grand mal seizures and had to be taken to the ER by ambulance. I'm assuming that whatever ecstasy she used was a bad batch. Remember when she asked to have a drink of my soda? I assume this is when she dropped the pill inside and it dissolved. She probably crushed it beforehand or something. I have no clue. But at this time in my life, I hadn't done drugs for a while, especially not ecstasy. Kay also went on to tell people that I was the one that had slipped her the drug, and she had to go to the hospital. She's a pathological liar and has to go to therapy for a long time for mental disorders. All of this happened because she wanted me to be high like her. I could have committed suicide, because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. It still affects me to this day. I know it sounds cliche, but I have a hard time trusting people with this experience and among other things. I also don't like sharing drinks with friends. I get scared when I go out to a bar or club, fearing the worst. I mean, if my own friend had done this to me, what's stopping a stranger? So now I always guard my drink, no matter what. So to Kay, let's not meet. Ever again. Story 3. Originally posted on Creep Stories, but someone suggested I should post it here. This happened a few months ago. The context required. At this point in time, I had just picked my mental health back up after an extremely traumatic, unconsensual episode, you can guess what, and was still struggling with the chronic inability to say no to people. I am a 21-year-old gay trans man, and while I have never had trouble passing, I'm still seen as very pretty and young-looking. So I was at a young people's event at my place of worship, which is completely accepting of all strokes of people, by the way. It was a lovely evening, I met a lot of great people, got a bit tipsy, and had a great time. That is, until around 12:45 to 1 a.m., when things started to wind up. I went upstairs and met a man, looked approximately in his late 30s, called Tobias. Tobias was quite forward, complimenting my appearance, being familiar, asking about my sexuality. So I guess that he was interested, but I didn't feel the same way. My place of worship has always been a safe place for me, so I assumed if I didn't flirt back, he'd get the message. Mea culpa. Shortly after I went downstairs to put something in the bin, he followed me. When we were alone, he kissed me. I pulled him away and told him, "Sorry, I'm not available." He said, "Don't worry, neither am I," and gestured to his wedding ring. I laughed it off, turned back, and walked upstairs. And as we walked, Tobias told me, "I can't believe I just did that. Nothing happened, that didn't just happen." I nodded and thought that was that. The evening was getting late. I had decided to get home. I offered to walk a friend of mine to the station, and when she left to go to the bathroom, he asked where I was going. I said firmly, "I'm going to walk my friend to the station, and then I'm going home." She returned, and as we left, he decided to come along with us. I asked where he was headed. He said, "Oh, I'll go to the station for you." I reiterated that I was going straight home from that point. Along the way, my friend wanted to get another drink and hang out, and I agreed. We were chatting. All seemed friendly, but I was becoming increasingly uncomfortable at Tobias' behavior. He was constantly complimenting me, telling me I was amazing, special, not like anyone he'd met, and kept touching me, putting his hands on my neck and down the back of my shirt, and kept trying to kiss me. FYI, this is a tactic called love bombing, and is a big ol' red flag. He commented on some hickeys I had. Who was that? Who scarred you? Whoever it was, you think they're better than me? Really? Better than me? You let a boy do that to you? I told him that it was someone I had known for a long time and reminded him that I wasn't single. He had kissed me around 4 times up to this point, and when he did, I would pull away, try and put distance between us, and move my head so he wouldn't. Laugh awkwardly, say, "We're in a shop, please don't. I'm not what you're looking for. You don't know me," etc. This man straight up tried to make out with me 1 meter away from some poor shopkeeper serving us. Ugh. He squeezed my waist and commented on how skinny and small I was, asked me how old I was and commented, "Wow, you look so young, you look like you're 17. Sexy? Not." He asked me if I was attracted to him and I shrugged, shook my head and said, "Sorry, I'm very into the person I'm with and I can't even look at anyone else when I like someone." At this point, I should have told him to screw off. In fact, I should have said that a long time before. But when it's actually happening, it's surprisingly difficult to get a bearing on when you can start being rude, which is exactly what people who behave like this rely on. A vulnerable person's fear of making a scene, or else they actually believe that this behavior means the person wants to be persuaded. Yuck, back to the story. We all decided to sit on a bench, as all the pubs were shut. I sat on the end, and my friend next to me. Tobias whined that I wasn't sitting next to him. My friend asked why that mattered, and he said, "Oh, you know, because I want him to, never mind. I'm being too much, I'm going too far." I tried to steer the conversation away from him flirting, but he kept standing and walking to where I was sitting to kiss me, crouching by me and putting his hands on my knees. He didn't want to tell us how old he was because he was afraid I wouldn't like him. In an attempt to stop him being interested in me, I revealed that I was transgender, and he put his hand up my shirt saying, "Wow, you really think I would judge you for that? You have no idea who I am. I see you." Side note, what the F is this? The Avatar? I would never care. I'll still do everything with you. He meant sexually. I wiggled away as far as I was able and said something along the lines of, "Well, thank you, but I'm not interested." My friend had somehow misread the situation as me enjoying this behavior, probably because I'm a bloke. I texted another friend to call me so that I could get 5 minutes away from the situation. Walked up the street, explained everything, and made a plan, which was a really good idea. Talking out loud about it, I finally registered that this wasn't right, that I was totally in the right to be uncomfortable and want to get the F out of there. I returned and told everyone that I was going home. The second I came back, he tried to kiss me and told me he was worried and had tried to come looking for me. I moved my head so he couldn't and told him, "Please don't, I'm going home." I texted the friend I was with, "Help," and she immediately started saying that we were going home and that he should go home soon as well, and that her and I were leaving together now. He asked me, "What's changed? You've come back different. Who are you talking to? What's going on?" I told him, "I'm uncomfortable and I'm going home now." He said, "What are you talking about? Have I made you uncomfortable?" "Yes, I'm going home now." That's what I said. Up to this point, I can definitely see that my lack of rudeness and conflict avoidance tactics had actually made the situation worse and given him the impression that I could be persuaded to do whatever he wanted, or somehow would let him on. So now that I've been absolutely crystal clear, he should back off, right? Wrong. He said, "Wow, who are you talking to? What's happened? Whoever it is, don't throw this away. I know we had a connection, you're so special." I said, "I only met you this evening, you made me feel uncomfortable, and you should ask before you kiss people." "Wow, I can't believe this. You're trying to turn this around on me? I know you're drunk. It's fine. I just want to go home now." "Oh, I'm completely sober. I'm not drunk." At this point, my friend stepped in and tried to assure him that everything was fine and to convince him to go home. He asked me for one last kiss and I shook my head. "No, thank you." He said, "Don't throw this away," and tried to touch my face. I reiterated, "I met you this evening, I don't know you, and I want to go home." He said, "Can I at least have a hug?" and immediately tried to hug me. I pushed him away and said I would rather not. And then he said, "Wow, you're making me feel uncomfortable now." I said, "I would rather not," is what I said. "Please respect my boundaries. I want to go home." My friend again tried to get him to go home. He said, "No, you're making me feel like I've done something wrong. I just want a hug. Oh, I know what this is. You're just not used to people accepting you for who you are. You just can't handle that I accept you, and I see you for who you really are." I mean, really? I said, "That's not the case. I have plenty of people who accept me, but you've made me feel uncomfortable and I'm going home." At this point, I was stood up, backed against the edge of the bench with him standing barely a foot away. I had started shaking because I was feeling anxious, so I just walked away up the street. My friend stayed with him, convincing him to go home. He didn't follow us. I took her to the station and got myself an Uber. Next day, handed a report very similar to this to the security at my place of worship, and the dude was promptly barred from entry. I hope people can see the mechanisms of how the situation was set up and can find confidence to be far more outspoken than I was, because by being polite I made the situation worse. I know it's not my fault, but I'm very grateful that I'm not timid like I used to be, and I'm now able to absolutely be firm, and if needs be, rude, about setting my boundaries. Therapy is a hell of a drug, and it's doing me wonders. So, married creep double my age, let's not meet again, for your sake.